Alhamdulillah. So he said here, وَمِنْهَا يُعْرَفُ التَّارِيخِ وَهُوَ كَثِيرٌ. Some of them are known by history, by the dates, and that's a lot. Because when you read a story, you can know that this story was before this story, so in that case you can understand from it and know the first one and the second one. And we can, he says here, وليس منها ما يرويه الصحابي المتأخر الإسلام معارضا للمتقدم عليه أو للمتقدم عليه. احتمال أن يكون سمع من صحابي آخر أقدم من المتقدم المذكور أو مثله فأرسله. What? A small Sahabi or a latest Sahabi. What do you mean by latest Sahabi? That means a Sahabi that converted Islam late, or that that met the Prophet ﷺ so late. You know, there are Sahaba that met the Prophet ﷺ in his last days, like for example Jarir ibn Abdullah al-Bajali. Jarir ibn Abdullah al-Bajali radiyallahu anhu. This Sahabi met the Prophet ﷺ, and he narrates several hadith. So if he narrates a hadith that contradicts with a hadith that is narrated by, for example, Jabir, who converted Islam old, or for Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas or somebody like that, who was one of the first Muslims that converted Islam. Do we say that, well, this is a proof that this hadith is latest than the first one? He says no, it's not an evidence. Why? Because maybe that Sahabi narrated that hadith from another Sahabi and he didn't mention his name, and that Sahabi is not a latest Sahabi, he's an oldest Sahabi. And this is what they call Mursalus Sahabi. Mursal, oh no. Are you with me? Okay, Mursal Sahabi. My God, what's the matter? So Sahabi, scholars say that Mursal al-Sahabi is all accepted and valid. Because all the Sahaba are trustworthy. So we don't have any problem about that. Anhu, that the Messenger of Allah said, أفطر الحاجم والمحجوم. Hijama. Al-hijama is when you go and you put something that cupping, yeah, the cupping, yeah. Said أفطر الحاجم والمحجوم, that means if they were fasting. So the one who is putting cupping and the one who is curing him, both of them would break their fast. another hadith of Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, he said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam cupped when he was uh, fasting. Means that he was fasting and he was in ihram. So that means that cupping doesn't affect ihram nor fasting. And Shaddad radiallahu anhu, there are some narrations in this hadith say that he was in the year number 8 from the immigration of the Prophet ﷺ. Hadith was the day of the farewell pilgrimage, the farewell pilgrimage of the Prophet ﷺ, which is in the year 10, before the death of the beloved Prophet ﷺ by 4 months. So that means Ibn Abbas's narration abrogates Shaddad ibn Aus's narration. Okay? He says here, لكن إذا وقع التصريح بسماعه له من النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فيتجه أن يكون ناسخا بشرط أن يكون لم يتحمل وسلم شيئا قبل إسلامه. Says didn't meet the Prophet ﷺ except in his last days. If he said, I heard from the Messenger of Allah ﷺ saying so and so. So that means this latest Sahabi's narration is late and the first one is old. That is a sign or an evidence that narration abrogates the first one. You see? وإن لم يعرف التاريخ فلا يخلو إما أن يكون ترجيح إحداه من وجود ترجيح متعلقة بالمتن أو إسناد أو لا. So it says, if we don't know the history, so we have to choose whether the chain, or we can't do anything of that. Everything is proper. There's no problem there. There's nothing that we can talk about that. What does he mean by looking at the text or looking at the chain? Well, we said that the narrations that are in Bukhari are more stronger than Muslim. The narrations of Bukhari and Muslim are more stronger than the other narrations. The narrations that are in the 6 books are more stronger than other narrations that are Hasan. Hadith al-Sahih is stronger than Hadith al-Hasan. Hadith al-Hasan is stronger than Hadith al-Hasan لغيره. So these are kinds or ways to compare and to choose. Why do we want to know, is this stronger than this? So that when we have a conflict, we can choose. Or else, what does that mean? Hadith is stronger than a hadith. Okay, both of them are an evidence or are a proof or whatever. Is to choose one of the narrations when we have a conflict. Okay? فإن أمكن الترجيح تعين المصير إليه وإلا فلا. We have to choose. So you choose the hadith that is more stronger than the hadith that is less. Or else there is no way. فصار ما ظاهره التعارض واقعا على هذا الترتيب. in this case, when we have a conflict between two hadith, we go following this statements. Okay? First, al-jama' in amkan. You combine between them if you can. If you know the history, the one abrogates the other one. The latest abrogates the oldest. فالترجيح إن تعين. Choose one of them. ثم التوقف عن العمل بأحد الحديثين. Yeah, I can't. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't have anything that would make me choose this hadith or this hadith. So I stop. I don't choose any one of them. قال والتعبير بالتوقف أولى من التعبير بالتساقط. They say both of them fall down. He says no. When he says stop, I stop until I have an evidence. So that's more polite than saying, okay, both of the narrations fall down. Why are they going to fall down? If I'm an ignorant guy, maybe somebody is more knowledgeable than me, and he can solve the problem. So I don't say they fall down. They don't fall down. لأن خفاء ترجيح أحدهما على الآخر إنما هو بالنسبة للمعتبر في حالة راهنة مع احتمال أن يظهر لغيره ما خفي عليه والله أعلم. Because this is not clear for me that I'm just searching, but maybe it'll be clear for somebody else that is more knowledgeable than me, or that he paid attention to something that I didn't pay attention to, or anything like that. You see? Okay. المردود وأقسامه. Now we finished talking about the hadith that is accepted, which is Sahih and Al-Hasan. Now we are going to talk about the rejected hadith. It says ثم المردود وموجب الرد إما أن يكون لسقط من إسناد أو طعن في راو على اختلاف وجوه الطعن أعم من أن يكون لأمر يرجع إلى ديانة الراوي أو إلى ضبطه. So, rejecting a hadith is either because there's a drop in the chain, so it's not connected, the connection is not going. So it's like when you have a cable that doesn't work. Why? Because it's cut somewhere. It has a cut somewhere, so the electricity doesn't pass. So the same hadith, if the hadith chain is not connected, so the authenticity won't pass. Okay? Or because it is connected, but we have a problem in one of the narrators. And when we say we have a problem in one of the narrators, he says that's more wider than saying that that goes back to his religion or goes back to his memory. Something is more than that, wider than that. Okay? فالسقط إما أن يكون من مبادئ السند من تصرف مصنف أو من آخره أي الإسناد بعد التابع أو غير ذلك. Now the cut, not the connection, the cut might be in the beginning of the chain or in the end of the chain. In the middle, it can be here or there or in the middle. And in the beginning of the chain is because one of the narrators decided to not mention his scholar or his professor or whatever. And we can find a lot of narrations like that in Bukhari, called معلق. So قال فالأول المعلق سواء كان الساقط واحدا أم أكثر. So the first one is called المعلق. Did you get that? So المعلق connected from the beginning, where the Shaykh al-Bukhari or Muslim or any one of them, instead of saying حدثني فلان عن فلان عن فلان, goes and jumps and says قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, or he mentions محمد ibn Ja'far قال حدثني فلان قال حدثني علان قال something like that. It's called al-mu'allaq. That mu'allaq means hung up. So it's the hadith is hung. It's not connected. Or more than that. So now, for example, Riyadh al-Salihin of Imam Nawawi, because he doesn't mention the isnad. So all the narrations are mu'allaqa. Oh, because when he mentions the hadith, he says it's narrated in Bukhari or Muslim or Tirmidhi or whatever. He solved the problem for you. Anymore, there's no problem there, and we understand that he did that ta'liq because he wants to summarize the hadith. وبينه وبين المعضل ذكره عموم وخصوص من وجه. فمن حيث تعريف المعضل بأنه سقط منه اثنان فصاعدا يجتمع مع بعض الصور المعلق، ومن حيث تقييد المعلق بأنه من تصرف المصنف من مبادئ السند يفترق عنه إذ هو أعم من ذلك. So he says there is a similarity between al-mu'dal, which we will mention later, and al-mu'allaq. So the similarity is that al-mu'dal, it's a hadith where more than two or more drop down from the isnad, two or more narrators. That is in mu'allaq too, even one. And the difference is that mu'allaq is always in the beginning of the isnad, but al-mu'dal is always inside the isnad, in the middle. هو من تصرف المصنف. It's only an act from the narrator. He's the one who dropped his shaykh or the one who narrated for him. So because he wants to summarize the hadith. ومن صور المعلق أن يحذف جميع السند. So when he drops all the chain, it's called mu'allaq, like what Imam Riyadh Salihin does. ويقال مثلا قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. That's the same thing. ومنها أن يحذف إلا الصحابي أو التابعي والصحابي معا. And more than even the tabi'i is omitted. ومنها أن يحذف من حدثه ويضيف إلى من فوقه. Drops who narrated for him and goes on directly to the one who narrated. for his sheikh. فقد اختلف فيه هل يسمى تعليقا أو لا. If he drops his narrator and then narrates from the one who narrated for him, and that one is his sheikh too, do we call this mu'allaq or we call it something else? He says, well, the most accepted opinion here is that we have to go in details. So it depends. So فإن عرف بالنص والصحيح في هذا التفصيل فإن عرف بالنص أو الاستقراء أن فاعل ذلك مدلس قضي به وإلا فتعليق. This guy is always does that, so he is called mudallis. Talk about tadlis. He didn't mean to. It's not something that he always does, so that we can think that it's actually. Because if we don't know, we might think that the second sheikh is the one who narrated, so we might make a mistake for that. You see? So here he says, وإن ذكر التعليق في القسم المردود وإن ذكر التعليق في قسم المردود للجهل بحال المحذوف وقد حكم بصحته إن عرف بأن يجيء مسمى من وجه آخر فإن قال جميع من أحذفه ثقات جاءت مسألة التعديل على الإبهام وعند هنا. طيب وإنما ذكر التعليق في قسم المردود. Mention this kind of hadith in the rejected hadith. Why? Or from another way, that this hadith is not rejected, it's an authentic hadith. It says all what I كل جميع ما أحذفه ثقات. If he says all the narrators that I reject or I drop are trustworthy, well, here he claims that they are trustworthy. That means he's the one who claims that they are trustworthy. But we don't know. Maybe they're not trustworthy, like what Imam Shafi'i always says, حدثني الثقة حدثني من لا أتهم. When we see who is this guy that he claims that he's trustworthy, or he doesn't accuse him to lie, we find that he's Ibrahim ibn Abi Yahya is weak, and he has lots of problems in his aqeedah, in his creed. He finds, or he believes that he's trustworthy, but actually he's not trustworthy. Ibn Salah here says لكن قال ابن الصلاح هنا إن وقع الحذف في كتاب التزمت صحته كالبخاري إسناده ثابت عنده ففيه وإنما حذف لغرض من الأغراض وما أتى فيه بغير الجزم ففيه مقال وقد أوضحت أمثلة ذلك في النكت على ابن الصلاح. Do you know the hadith for this example, Shaykh? Hadith that Imam Shafi'i says حدثني الثقة.
Yes.
Now I don't remember one, but there's a lot, because he always goes and he says حدثني من لا أتهم. No, he doesn't say حدثني ثقة. He says حدثني من لا أتهم. من لا. So then scholars say that he means لا أتهم, he means Ibrahim ibn Abi Yahya Qadari, and he had lots of problems in his creed and in his belief.
Do you know who made the da'if on him?
Oh, lots of scholars, Imam Ahmad and others, they say كان شيعيا قدريا فيه البلاء كله. كان شيعيا. Did you get some? What's that?
Yeah, whole risala on this topic. It's a risala written on this entire topic of Imam Shafi'i narrating from Ibrahim bin Abi.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, so inshallah I'll read through that.
Good. Do you know? Does he defend them or something?
I'm not sure, Sheikh. I haven't read it.
Okay. Yeah, he says because Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah used to lie, but it doesn't. But other scholars said that he's not a trustworthy guy. We have several examples like that. I mean, now here Ibn Salah says, yes.
Sheikh, this is a bit of a side question, but the accusations of tashayyu against Imam Shafi'i, I've heard without a reference that led to Imam Shafi'i being mutasahil with a lot of the Shia.
No.
Have you heard anything like this?
That's not proper. Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah, he wasn't mutashayyi'. He used to love al-Bayt, but look, I want to give you something very important. I read there's a book written by Imam Ibn Amir Salani called Thamarat Al-Nadhar fi Ilm Al-Athar. Thamarat Al-Nadhar. It's an interesting book. It's not so big. It's So what does he say? He says, why do the narrators reject always or consider the Shi'i always a bad guy? The same thing, a bad guy. And he says that's not fair. Why? He says because Shi'i means that he loves Al-Bayt. And he says that's good. We have to love Al-Bayt and we have to defend them. But where's the problem is that when you curse the Sahaba or curse somebody else from the Sahaba of the Prophet ﷺ. So that's the problem. Where the Nasibi always curses Ali radiallahu anhu and hates Ali and his family. So a Nasb, he says, is always bad. But why is Tashayyur considered bad? He says it's not supposed to be considered bad unless they curse somebody. They talk bad about one of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. And that's where it becomes something bad. But Al-Amir Al-San'ani rahimahullah, that our scholars never used no. حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. الدرس خليه سير سير يلا سير الدرس يلا خلينا الدرس درس بالهكذا هيكون درس What's that? Just to clarify for the brothers, it wasn't a factually proven thing, just mirrors speculation that the tashayyur caused the tasahul in some of his teachers. Many examples were given to the contrary. Okay. No, there was a Yahya ibn Ma'in didn't used to like Imam Shafi'i. And he's the one who accused him to be a Shi'i. And Imam Ahmad rahimahullah didn't go and sit down with Shafi'i and learn from him instead of just saying these funny things. And he used to defend him. Tashayyur what is tashayyur? It's always when you love the family of the Prophet ﷺ, but on the other side you talk bad about some of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. So the lowest tashayyur is when you love Ali radiallahu anhu and you talk bad about Muawiyah and who was with him in Sham, who fought against Ali radiallahu anhu. So this is the lowest tashayyur. Or at least you don't curse them, you don't insult them, but you talk bad about them. That is called tashayyur khafif. Tashayyur khafif. And ulama al-Kufa through loving Ali radiallahu anhu. Ali radiallahu anhu was with them in Kufa. They fought with him against the people of Syria. That's something normal, to hate the people that you were fighting with them, against them. So then their children, their sisters, their students inherited from them loving Ali radiallahu anhu, and on the other side they inherited from them hating the one that fought against Ali radiallahu anhu. And then these are ranks. We have the fanatic ones that went to curse Abu Bakr and Umar and Aisha radiallahu anhu, who were called now Rafida. They started believing that the Imams of Al-Bayt have a divine power and etc., like what we have now. Nowadays, the Imamis, the so-called Imamis. So those are so astray. And then we have less than that, the Zaydis. Al-Bayt, and they don't like the people of... So it's called Tashayyur Khafif. And then Ghulu Tashayyur, who start cursing and saying bad things. And then Ar-Rafd, who talk about Abu Bakr and Umar. Okay? So Tashayyur is always connected with something not proper, which is hating or not liking some of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. That's why they consider it, our scholars consider it as a bid'ah. It's from the beginning something bad. Nasb means hating Ali radiallahu anhu and his family. And that's very bad. How can you hate someone that the Prophet ﷺ praised them, and that he's so close to the Prophet ﷺ, and hate the family of the Prophet ﷺ? That's something like nifaq, na'udhu billah. So it's a very bad innovation, a nasb. Say that Imam Shafi'i was Shi'i? No. Imam Shafi'i was never a Shi'i. Yes, that's true. And a lot of Imams were like that. And lots of Muslims in the world are like that. Nobody says that they are Shia. Muslims in India, in Morocco, in Egypt, in many places in Islamic states, when they know that somebody is from the descendants of the Prophet ﷺ, they love him. They might even kiss his head, kiss his hands, etc. But no one said that Indians are Shia or Egyptians are Shia or Moroccans are Shia or so or whatever. Is that clear? Say anything bad about any of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, so they can't be Shia for that. Let us go back now to what we're talking about. Subhanallah, it seems that we're going so slow. Actually, we had to talk. We did pass only 5 pages. Subhanallah, I don't know why. So he says here. Now he says here that if what can we say about these narrations that are mu'allaq? If he says, Ibn Salah says, if the book that has these mu'allaqat and Muslim, so any hadith that he says قال روى حدث authentic, and any hadith that he says ruya qila in a way that it is said, it is narrated, so it's not authentic. It's not authentic. You see? This is not a rule that we can depend on. It needs research, and the research is done by Hafiz ibn Hajar rahimahullah. He wrote a big book called Ta'liq, Taghliq al-Ta'liq, Taghliq al-Ta'liq. Hadith as it is. Every hadith says this hadith. It's published in 2 volumes with the editor, with the work. So it's on 2 volumes. So Ta'liq, Taghliq al-Ta'liq. That means closing a ta'liq. So he proved every hadith, and so this rule is not something that is, and mu'allaqat in Bukhari is more than mu'allaqat in Muslim. Yes. طيب المرسل, what is mursal? Mursal is when it's dropped in the end of the hadith. So tabi'i goes on saying the Prophet ﷺ said so and so. A tabi'i, it's not a big deal because all Sahaba are trustworthy, but we don't know. Maybe he narrated from another tabi'i. So in this case, it's considered as a weak hadith. It's considered as a weak hadith. قال والثاني وهو ما سقط من آخره من بعد التابعي وهو المرسل. So when somebody who is after the tabi'i, it's called mursal. And the word mursal means somebody who's loose. So this hadith is loose. It's not connected. It's loose. That's why they call it mursal. وصورته أن يقول التابعي سواء كان كبيرا أو صغيرا قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كذا. Example is when the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, when the tabi'i says, no matter he's a big tabi'i or a small tabi'i, he says the Prophet ﷺ said so and so. The Prophet ﷺ said so. Wait a second. مش مشاكل. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم did, or it was done and the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم saw and he didn't say anything about that. وإنما ذكر هذا القسم وإنما ذكر في قسم المردود للجهل بحال المحذوف. Why is this considered as a rejected hadith? Well, because we don't know who's the one who narrated it, so it's cut. The chain is cut. لأنه يحتمل أن يكون صحابيا ويحتمل أن يكون تابعيا، وعلى الثاني يحتمل أن يكون ضعيفا ويحتمل أن يكون ثقة، وعلى الثاني يحتمل أن يكون حمل عن صحابي ويحتمل أن يكون حمل عن تابعين آخر، وعلى الثاني فيعود الاحتمال السابق ويتعدد إما بالتجويز العقلي فإلى ما لا نهاية 7 وهو أكثر ما وجد من رواية بعض التابعين عن بعض. Why is this rejected? Because narrated from a Sahabi. If we knew that, no problem about that. But maybe he narrated from a Tabi'i, another Tabi'i. And if it's like that, maybe that Tabi'i is trustworthy, maybe he's not trustworthy. Okay. If he's trustworthy, maybe he narrated from another one, another Tabi'i. And maybe he narrated from a Sahabi. And if he narrated from a Tabi'i, maybe the Tabi'i is trustworthy or not trustworthy. And then if we want to put it rationally, it will go for, it won't finish. It won't finish. But when the scholars searched for that, they found that we have a narration that 7 tabi'een narrated from each other. 6 to 7, he says. And that's the most, that's the biggest number that we found, or the scholars found when they searched for that. If we knew that the tabi'in never narrates and doesn't mention the one that he narrates from, except from somebody who is trustworthy, like for example Sa'id Musayyab, from his father-in-law, who is Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. فذهب جمهور المحدثين إلى التوقف لبقاء الاحتمال، وهو أحد قولي أحمد. وثانيهما وهو قول المالكيين والكوفيين يقبل مطلقا. The majority of scholars say no. We stop because maybe he claims he's trustworthy, but we don't believe that he's trustworthy. So he's claiming that he's trustworthy. Wallahu alam, he's not trustworthy. We have to search for that. And this is one of the opinions of Imam Ahmad. But the Malikis and the Hanafis said, no, we accept the subhanallah, we accept the hadith that is like that. Mu'allaq, al-mursal, we accept it. So that's why the Malikis and the Hanafis accept the marasil. But Imam Shafi'i is the one who talked about al-mursal a lot. And he said it is not accepted unless it has another chain that supports it. And قال الشافعي يقبل إن اعتضد بمجيئه من وجه آخر يباين الأولى مسندا كان أو مرسلا. So it says it's لا لا it's accepted if it has another chain that comes from another a chain that is mursal or musnad, but it's another chain that supports the chain that we're talking about. ليترجح احتمال كون المحذوف ثقة في نفس الأمر. It is a trustworthy scholar, and not only expecting that. Now we are sure that he is trustworthy. Okay. ونقل أبو بكر الرازي من الحنفية وأبو الوليد الباجي من المالكية أن الراوي إذا كان يرسل عن الثقات وغيرهم لا يقبل مرسله اتفاقا. Abu Bakr al-Razi, who is one of great Hanafi scholars, and he has Ahkam al-Quran, which is a known book, and he has a book of Usul al-Fiqh. Too. So he says, and Abu al-Walid al-Baji, who is, and he has a great book called Al-Muntaqa fi Sharh al-Muwatta, and he has a book of Usul al-Fiqh, which is one of the greatest Maliki Usul al-Fiqh books. He says that both of them say that if the narrator doesn't narrate except from trustworthy and not trustworthy, so he just narrates from anybody, so all scholars agree that his narrations are rejected. All scholars agree that his narrations are rejected. Is that clear? المعضل البيقول المعضل الساقط منه اثنان وما أتى مدلسا نوعان. المعضل is any or more than two are dropped from the middle of the chain. والقسم الثالث من أقسام السقط من الإسناد إن كان باثنين فصاعدا مع التوالي فهو المعضل. Rejected hadith because of the chain is the hadith that two or more drop from the chain, so it's called mu'dal. And the word mu'dal means something that makes you tired. أعضله الأمر. You're going to be tired searching for the narrator. Who are these three guys who dropped? How are you going to solve the problem? So that causes lots of problems for the scholar. المنقطع وإلا بإن كان السقط اثنين غير متواليين في موضعين مثلا فهو المنقطع. Or else if one drops, everyone in place, this one is in place and this one is in this place, so it's called munqata, cut. It's cut. So this is not called mu'dal, it's called cut. وكذا إن سقط واحد فقط أو أكثر من اثنين لكن بشرط عدم التوالي. More than two, three, so it's all cut. So this hadith is called cut. منقطع. منقطع means cut. Okay?
Okay.
ثم إن السقط من الإسناد قد يكون بمعرفته لكون الراوي مثلا لم يعاصر من روى عنه أو يكون خفيا فلا يدركه إلا الأئمة الحذاق المطلعون على طرق الحديث وعلل الأسانيد. This hadith is to know that this isnad has a cut in it. It's either clear by, how do you know that? By history. You know the dates of the death and the birth of every one of the narrators, so you find that this guy can't narrate from this guy because there's a gap there, and that gap means that someone is between them, and you have to know him. So there's a cut there. The gap is the cut. Invisible. How? It might be invisible. You won't know that unless you are a neat scholar in hadith and you search and you put all the chains and compare between it, and then you discuss that there's a gap, there's a cut. Okay? Very important science called ilal as-sanad. Ilal al-asanid. This is a very important وهو الواضح يدرك بعدم التلاقي. You know it because they can't meet each other. The narrator and his shaykh can't meet each other because they're not in the same era. بكونه لم يدرك عصره أو أدركه لكن لم يجتمع وليست له منه إجازة ولا وجادة. So if they can't meet each other, for example, one is in Andalusia and the other one is in India, and they never met. The history says that this guy never met this guy, and we know that he doesn't have even an ijazah for him. He didn't set an ijazah for him or wijada, he found his book or something like that. So this means that there's a cut there, there's a gap. ومن ثم احتيج إلى التاريخ. To know history. A muhaddith who doesn't know history is zero. You can't be a muhaddith, a scholar of hadith, and you don't know history. To be a seeker of knowledge, طالب علم. But when you mention the names of scholars, he doesn't know the ages of the scholars. So he can mix a scholar who is in the 4th century with somebody who is in the 6th century or something like that. And that's very bad. That's why anyone who is a seeker of knowledge, he has to go and read history, read biographies of scholars, read their series, their lives, etc. لتضمنه تحرير مواليد الرواة ووفياتهم وأوقات طلبهم وارتحالهم, because the death of the birth of when did so and so enter the city so and so, when did he meet so and so, etc. When did he travel from his land to another land? وقد افتضح أقوام ادعوا الرواية عن شيوخ ظهر بالتاريخ كذب دعواهم. Many people, they were liars because they claimed that they met some shuyukh, but actually history proves that they're lying, and that it's impossible for them to meet those people that they claimed. Second kind of the rejected hadith is المدلس. وما أتى مدلسا نوعان. And it's called المدلس. It is from dalas, darkness. So when it's the weather, when it's dark, you can't see properly, and that's what happens with this kind of hadith. سمي بذلك لكون الراوي لم يسمي من حدثه وأوهم سماعه للحديث ممن لم يحدث عنه، واشتقاقه من الدلس بالتحريك وهو اختلاط الظلام سمي بذلك اشتراكهما في الخفاء. What is مدلس? Rate from your shaykh people understand that you heard it from him. You go say, so and so said so and so, and we know that you met so and so. You met that scholar. You didn't hear what you claimed that he said. Where did he get it from? So when we ask you, did you hear that from him? Said, no, I didn't hear it from him. Where did you get it from? He said, well, so and so told me. Well, so and so is a liar. You can't. You see how? Tadlis is not good. It's bad. And it has several types. We're going to talk about those types. So he says it's referred from dalas, which is when the you can't see properly in it. And the same thing in this hadith. You can't know, is this guy really, did he hear that from his shaykh or did he never heard that? And there are other times when he makes at least shuyukh. Instead of mentioning his name, instead of saying, I heard from Hassan Al-Kettani, for example, my name, you go and search for a name that is not known. You say, I heard from Abu Muhammad Al-Hassani, for example. People don't know who's Abu Muhammad Al-Hassani. Not mention my name for a reason or another. So this is called تدليس الشيوخ. ويرد المدلس بصيغة من صيغ الأداء تحتمل وقوع اللقي بين المدلس ومن أسند عنه كعن وكذا قال، ومتى وقع بصيغة صريحة لا تجوز فيها كان كذبا. What is المدلس? How does he narrate? Be understood. That you can understand from it that he met or he heard from a scholar, although the word is not really it's not really clear that you heard from him. For example, he says like an so and so, an means okay, from Hassan, from so and so. So from so and so, it can be by an intermediary or without an intermediary. Or qala, he said, can be by hearing him directly or by somebody else telling you. So these are words that can be understood as that you heard or you didn't hear. But if you said that he told me, oh, I heard from him, now this is a lie. And who does that is a liar, and he is rejected totally. How do we judge the one who does tadlis? كان عدلا ألا يقبل منه إلا ما صرح به بالتحديث على الأصح. Anybody tadlis, anybody who is a trustworthy guy but does tadlis, his narrations are rejected unless he says by a very clear word that he heard that from him, like حدثنا أخبرنا قال عن أو أن or قال. You reject that. Okay, is that clear? We don't accept that and we reject that. That I won't mention that too. Okay? Is that fair, or you would like me to mention that? المرسل الخفي. الخفي is a kind of mursal. وكذا المرسل الخفي إذا صدر من معاصر لم يلق من حدث عنه بل بينه وبينه واسطة. is between المدلس والمرسل الخفي. Now, المدلس is أن يحدث عمن لقيه ما لم يسمع منه. You narrate somebody that you met what you didn't hear from him directly. This is مدلس. But if you narrate from somebody hear from him, but you were in the same era and you were in the same days, but you never met him. And there is an intermediary between you, so this is called what? This is called mursal khafi. والفرق بين المدلس والمرسل الخفي دقيق حصل تحريره بما ذكر هنا. Small. It is understood, explained for you. فأما إن عاصره ولم يعرف أنه لقيه فهو المرسل الخفي. عرف لقاؤه إياه. التدليس is only narrate from somebody that you met what you didn't hear from him. Can you give some examples? Okay. But for المرسل الخفي, you narrate from somebody that you were in the same era but you never met, or we don't know that you met, something that you didn't hear from him too. So both of them, you didn't hear from them. Both of them, there's an intermediary between you and them. Both of them, you narrate in a way that shows that you heard, or it can, what is the word? It can, you use a word that people can expect that you heard from them, and it can mean that you didn't hear from them. Okay? ولم يعرف أنه لقيه فهو المرسل الخفي. ومن أدخل في تعريف التدليس المعاصرة ولو بغير لقي لزمه دخول المرسل الخفي في تعريفه. So if somebody said that التدليس, if somebody mentions tadlis and he says that it's when you are in the same era and you didn't meet him but you narrate from him in a way that makes people feel that you narrated from directly, so he is mixing between these two and he is considering al-mursal al-khafi as a tadlis. والصواب التفرقة بينهما. Way is to differentiate between them. ويدل على أن اعتبار اللقي في التدليس دون المعاصرة وحدها لا بد منه. So إطباق أهل العلم بالحديث على أن رواية المخضرمين كأبي عثمان النهدي وقيس بن أبي حازم عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من قبيل الإرسال لا من قبيل التدليس. ولو كان مجرد المعاصرة يكتفى به في التدليس لكان هؤلاء مدلسين أنهم عاصروا النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ولكن لم يعرف هل لقوه أم لا. ومما قال باشتراط اللقاء في التدليس الإمام الشافعي وأبو بكر البزار، وكلام الخطيب في الكفاية يقتضي وهو المعتمد. That التدليس is to meet to narrate from your sheikh what you never heard from him, and the sheikh means that you met him, is that all the scholars of hadith don't consider the narrations of the people who were in the days of the Prophet ﷺ, but they never met him, like Abu Uthman al-Nahdi, and like Qais ibn Abi Hazim, the Prophet ﷺ, but they never met him. The Prophet ﷺ, several narrations, but no one says that these narrations are tadlis, because we know that they never met the Prophet ﷺ, so we consider them as marasil, not tadali, not hadith mudallasa. Only being in the same era to call the hadith as mudallas, we have to consider these guys to be we have to accuse them to be mudallisin, and nobody said that. When you narrate from your sheikh that you met what you never heard from him. And this is even the opinion of Imam Al-Khatib Al-Baghdadi, Al-Baghdadi in his Kifaya. And this is the opinion that is accepted. ويعرف عدم اللقاء بإخباره, that he didn't meet him. If he says that, he said, I never met so and so. بإخباره عن نفسه بذلك أو بجزم إمام المطلع, that knows history, and he says that, he says no, so and so never met so and so. ولا يكفي أن يقع في بعض الطرق زيادة راو أو أكثر بينهما احتمال أن يكون من المزيد. And it is not enough if we found that there is a narrator between them in another book, in another chain or something like that, because it might be something added in these chains. ولا يحكم في هذه الصورة بحكم كلي لتعارض احتمال الاتصال والانقطاع. قد صنف فيه الخطيب كتاب التفصيل لمبهم المراسيل وكتاب المزيد في متصل الأسانيد، وقد انتهت هنا أقسام حكم الساقط من الإسناد. He says here, you can't judge for this kind of hadith and unconnection. And there's two books that are written by Imam Al-Khatib Baghdadi. First was Tafsil Mubham Al-Marasil, that means giving details about the marasil that are unknown. And Al-Mazid fi Muttasal Al-Asanid, that talk about this topic. And here it is the end of the drop of or the gaps of the asanid, of the narrations. And this is the end of the kind of hadith that is weak because of the drop in the chain. Now he is going to talk about the hadith that is rejected because of accusing the narrators to be untrustworthy or to be not be good in memory. I think we could stop here if there's any question, and I would be happy to answer your questions.
Sheikh, I've got a question.
Yeah.
Just in regards to when you mentioned when a particular muhaddith says that he narrates a hadith, or as Imam Shafi'i said, how did we actually come to know that Imam Shafi'i was narrating from Ibrahim ibn Abi Yahya al-Aslami?
Other knowledgeable scholars said that. They went and compared between the hadith, or they have a narration from the Imam Shafi'i himself saying that, or something like that. So they don't just say that right without any proof. Brother Ramit said, what is Mursal Khafi again? You didn't get it. Mursal Khafi from somebody that we are in the same era, but I never met him, what I never heard from him. Let me give you an example. Okay? I was in the same era of Shaykh Hassan Al-Nadhar. And maybe people will think that I met him because I used to live in Arabia and he came to Arabia several times and he came to Morocco. But I never met Shaykh Abu Hassan Nadwi rahimahullah. So if I sit down and I say, Shaykh Abu Hassan Nadwi says so and so, and he said so and so, and he said so and so, this would be Mursal Khafi. Why? Because many people would think that I heard it from Abu Hassan Nadwi, but I never met Abu Hassan Nadwi. So that's the difference. Where actually, on the other side, there are scholars that I met. Okay? For example, Ibn Uthaymeen, I met him. I even participated in his lectures in Haram. So when I say Qala Ibn Uthaymeen to something that I never heard from him, in a way that people would think that those are some things that I heard it from directly, I have to say, look, guys, I didn't hear that from Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen. I heard it from somebody else. I won't be a mudallis, okay? Did you get it now? Did you get that? No, it's not a lie. It's not a lie. No, no, no. No, it's not a lie because sometimes, look, sometimes it's a kind of show off. You want to talk to people, tell people that something that they would believe that you heard from them, but actually you never heard from them. Like, there are some other kinds of tadlis. Like, for example, if I say from so-and-so in Riyadh, there's a district in our city called Riyadh. So when people hear Riyadh, they think that I went to Riyadh, which is in Arabia, the capital of Saudi Arabia, and they think that I met the Sheikh there. But that's not true. I never heard that from him. And I never met Riyadh. I never visited Riyadh. You see? Okay. So it's kind of show it off. To show that you met, or to show that you... Or there was a narrator called... if someone is doing tadlis, and another muhaddith find that chain when... What will be that chain? Then what will be the ruling? Okay, it's hadith da'if. Aslan tadlis is da'if. Any hadith mudallas is da'if. It says حدثنا or أخبرنا. If he doesn't use that, it's da'if, it's rejected. Now, some scholars mean to not mention their sheikh. And they give him another nickname or something like that. Why? Because they don't want people to reject him. Because, for example, they are from another school that if they hear his name, they will reject him. So he goes on talking. Like, let me tell you, for example, there are people, if they hear the name of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, they reject him. So you say, قال Muhammad ibn Sulaiman al-Tamimi. You dropped his father and you put his grandfather and then you put his tribe name. You didn't lie, but you gave a name that people don't know. You say, well, Muhammad ibn Sulaiman, maybe he's a known scholar, or he's a scholar from a so-and-so place, so you listen to him. But when you know his name, you would say, no, I don't follow this innovator. I don't follow this bad guy. You see? And that happens a lot. Many people reject the truth because they hate the one who says the truth. Al-Walid ibn Muslim is a he's student of Al-Awza'i, which is a great scholar of now in Lebanon, in the days of Imam Malik. So he had some of his shuyukh. This guy goes saying, حدثنا الأوزاعي عن. So they tell him, why do you do that? He says, I want Al-Awza'i, who is a noble guy. He can't narrate from this stupid guy or this weak guy. So I don't like him to narrate from him. Well, now you're ruining the chain. And that's why Al-Walid ibn Muslim's narrations are not accepted unless he says حدثنا in the whole isnad. Is that clear? Any other question?
Sorry, Sheikh, I have a question.
Yes.
It's just about when the methodology that we follow when we see conflict in the ahadith that you mentioned. That first we try to combine the nasikh and mansukh, then we do tarjih, and then we do tawaqquf, essentially. So is this? Do we just look at it for when we have conflict between Sahih or Hasan ahadith, or this procedure will come into play even when we have a conflict between Sahih or Hasan and a Da'if hadith?
So it gets dropped. So it's not a conflict. It's never a conflict.
Yeah, so we don't even worry about combining between the two hadith.
No, because it's weak. وإياكم.
Sheikh, I have a question.
Yeah,
Can we
تفضل.
take anything from Da'if al-Hadith like Fadail?
I think we might mention that later. I don't know, is he going to talk about that or not? But a hadith al-da'if, if it's not so weak, you can use it in Fada'il al-A'mal by conditions. The first condition is that you don't believe that the Prophet ﷺ really said it, but you expect that. The second one is that it has to have another support from other hadith that are authentic. The third one, that you never tell people that the Prophet ﷺ said that. But if you narrate it, you say, it is said that the Prophet ﷺ said so. In a way that قِيلَ حَدَّثَ قِيلَ وَرُوِيَ, and you can use those ahadith, yes.
That's it from me. Jazakallah.
Okay, فجزاكم الله خيرا. الحمد لله وصلى الله على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وله. إلى اللقاء في الحلقة القادمة إن شاء الله.